So in our comparison between Czerny and Bach, I'm talking about the Inventions, we arrived now at number 6, which is a really interesting piece. We could discuss about the time signature and the notation quite a lot. I'm going to do that a little bit here before I share with you the 9 performers playing this piece. If you haven't seen the previous episodes, there's a link in the description box, especially number 1 and 4. Have an extensive introduction, so I won't go over that here in this video and dive right into the content, which is this fascinating piece here in 3/8. Remember we talked about number 4, if I'm not mistaken, where you also have a 3/8, and I said there like 3/8 can fulfill many purposes. It goes from a very lively kind of dance-like time signature to what in fact could be seen as an alternative for 3/4. And it's an evolution with many time signatures, especially 3/8, 2/4 is another one, where you have subdivided structures, and where you also see that note values, and that the composer uses note values that in fact are a subdivision of the subdivision already. Like here you have 30-second notes, which means that, it slows the tempo down. There's not something that I'm inventing right now. You can read that with CPE Bach, with Quantz, with Leopold Mozart, with Czerny even. So the smallest note value is really important to determine your basic tempo. And when you have a lot of 30-second notes, as in this case, the emphasis, the structure, you're still thinking in 3/8, but you need to be able to, as a player, to have these 30-second notes played in a really nice way, like nice articulation. Let me see if we can go to the next page. So it's not only the 30-second notes. There's also, and I'm messing up here, there's also a level of syncopation that you need to take care of. Here, for instance, at the beginning, the syncopations are on the 16th notes. This is dragging the tempo a lot. And if you don't do that, you play over the syncopation. So 3/8, it's important time signature to just check whether your structure, your notation is basically in a slow 8-note pulse, a faster 8-note pulse, or just like a very danceable 8-note pulse. Like for instance, in the 4th one here. You see the difference? Maybe it's a little bit small on screen, and I'm messing up again. I should learn to navigate here in this computer. Anyways, you see 16th notes. We talked about the intervals here over the minutes, 7th, which is important to give with a little bit of emphasis. You cannot just play ta 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 ta. You have to let the listener feel that diminished 7, because it represents a kind of pain, suffering. And certainly when it's going downwards, it's like very serious stuff here. But the notation is different in number 6, where you have the syncopation. Let me try to zoom in. Oh, this is working really well. So here you are. So this is a completely different notation than we saw in the 4th. And I don't know if Bach intended to give this piece like as an example of a different notation, and also to have the student, learn to see that notation. Adding more faster note values to a time signature is something that really affects the tempo. And there comes a time in the 18th century, 17th century, even certainly 19th century, where the notation, that the time signatures actually serve a notation that is actually not originated anymore with what the original meaning was of the time signature. You have the same thing with Alla breve, but I'm not going to talk here about the Alla breve. But there you can see also the 8th note Alla breve, then comes triplets, then comes 16th notes, and of course has an effect on the tempo. And today in tempo discussion, when you talk to people, it's like one thing that is so difficult, but it makes difficult that people seem not to realize that anymore. Yeah, when they play, they do, but when they talk about in an abstract way about tempo, they don't seem not to see it anymore. That 3/8 is not 3/8, is not 3/8, is not 3/8. You have as many 3/8s as you have notations. So what we're going to do now is to see if our players, how they deal with that. It's an interesting overview this time, and after that, of course, I will show you the results and go to the single beat, whole beat option. But first, 9 players, the same as last week. So some names dropped off the screen. I don't know. It's very complex editing, actually, to bring all these 9 names like in the right order. Anyways, you missed the name of Gieseking, and where the screen was black, but the harpsichord was obviously Ton Koopman. So if we go to the overview right now, you will see that I'm again the winner. Yes, 51%. Well, you could say like you aim for that, but it's actually not the case. If you're new here, you will see in the first episodes of this series that my name is not there. But then some people suggested why not include your performance as well, and it was a good idea because I made the Inventions recordings on YouTube before actually I dived in seriously in tempo reconstruction. So it's what I call my innocent period, where I didn't think about really what tempo I would take in terms of metronome marks, but it was more kind of freewheeling on my feeling. So yeah, 51%. Gould, 58%. You could hear in Gould's performance that he still takes those syncopations also as a kind of tempo determinator, which is interesting. Sometimes, the guy is extreme. When he goes all in on his technique, he goes like he's in the Lisitsa area, but when he can just flip to the other side and then suddenly he's there in the whole beat area as well. So with Gould, you never know. But when he's there, it's sometimes really unbelievable what he's doing. Gieseking is 63%. It's very unstable, by the way, in tempo. If you check his recordings, it's pretty hard to measure. So 63% and 100. Schiff, interesting here, he makes a little a jump to 70%, so 112. We are far away from 160, but you can feel here there's a first recording, I think, where he's taking the 3/8 in the sense of an absolute lighter time signature than 3/4, and you hear him fight a little bit with the syncopations. I would say though, in his favor, he's doing it in a really nice way. I would say in this tempo, you end up giving the 30-second notes more or not enough credit. They are more structural than ornamentational. And so what happens here, and here is actually the bridge or the shift where the 30-second notes become more ornamental than structural. And it's an option, but I think in this piece, it's not the right option to take, but that's what I said at the beginning. Many musicians think 3/8 by definition should be danceable and light. Later we're going to, but it's not for this video, there is a video of Malcolm Bilson talking about the Opus 26, the A-flat major of Beethoven. It's Opus 26, I believe, the Variation Sonata, where he starts like 3/8 is the same story, like it's danceable, it's light, and then he gives the theme, forgetting that in the second variations you have already 30-second notes, and exactly that sonata, and I'm so surprised that they didn't know that. Maybe he knows, or maybe we cannot know everything. I'm not here to blame anybody, but and I'm not digressing to Beethoven here. But in that case, it's like a textbook definition of a rather slow 3/8, which is also apparent when you play the piece in what we call whole beat metronome mark, and there Czerny, of course, because Beethoven didn't metronomize that. Okay. Back to the overview. Nikolayeva at 72%, Koopman 77%. So the harpsichord players here are very close to each other. Again, 78%. They are here on the fast side compared to Czerny whole beat. And the reason is, I'm not saying that Czerny whole beat is like the exact authentic Bach way of playing, but I think Czerny understood this 3/8 concept in this piece rather well. But the reason here that they are relatively fast is the same reason as Schiff. It's like this, what I said about Malcolm Bilson also, here's a big name in the early music movement. So 3/8 by definition should be light, like Alla breve, or the cut time by definition should be light and fast, and whatever is in the notation is secondary apparently to the time signature, but it's actually the reverse is actually true. The notation is determines a lot. And the piece becomes a really, really, really a different piece. Again, guys, go to the overview and listen, because you see what tempo, changing tempo changes everything. You can see it here. Lisitsa is very fast, 83%. Meyer is even faster, 89%, but none of them is at 100%. So with Lisitsa, disclaimer again, she makes it very clear in the description box of her channel that the recording of the Inventions to her are an exercise. She sees the Inventions as a study, which basically they are, but in the 18th century term study or exercise is something different than in the 19th century. But anyways, she tries to play them as fast as she can. So it's very telling that she's on 83%, knowing that Czerny, in the preface of this book, collecting all the easy pieces. I mean, easy not in the sense of easy in playing and interpretation, but easy maybe in the sense of for beginners. So now is the moment, of course, who is going to win the whole beat competition here? Yes, it's me again. I'm proud. No, not just kidding. It's just magical sometimes when you just open your mind and the pieces are not meant, or you have as a player, and I'm not talking about myself, but also primarily about pianists, and maybe also some harpsichord players, not these two, though Koopman is known for very fast performances as well. But here in the case of the Inventions, where nobody feels like, maybe except Lisitsa, feels like I have to show off my technique, my virtuosity, then suddenly when people just are thinking from the music, then tempi become much slower and very close in many instances to what, in this case, Czerny wrote, but then in whole beat. If you see the average, 71%. I saw a comment like, yeah, that's nitpicking, like you should have many more recordings because now you can just, influence the result in your... No, I mean, if I have Gould, Lisitsa, Meyer, and even you could say Gieseking and Nikolayeva, those people are not known for particularly slow recordings. Nikolayeva sometimes is like close to Lisitsa. So I have 5 names out of 9 that I'm not sure how they're going to play. I mean, of course I checked, the results are there for me, but I just took those 9 names. I wanted to have Valentina, Lisitsa, because I want to give you like an overview, nine performers. This selection gives you a pretty objective overview, and I would say, if anything, I made the comparison balanced to the faster performances. So I'm not sure that's the case. But without further ado, you're waiting for the whole beat, single beat results. So there we go. So there you have it. It's a very interesting comparison this time. I think I left my performance untouched, or you're in 51%, you could say it's 1% above whole beat. But it's interesting if you compare the two performances, like the sped up, like the single beat, but even Lisitsa and Meyer in the original version, you will notice very quickly and very prominently that the 30-second notes are here just ornamental. There is no way you can give them a right articulation, accentuation if you wish, even to make them independent, or to have them to give them their own weight, to give them a place or a part in the play, in the story. You know what I mean? In my version, and I think was a very beautiful spot. It's for me also a rediscovery of those inventions. I want to do them again in the future and record them for CD and vinyl, but that's for another time. But here and there, I see like this worked really well. You see, in the fragment I showed you, what is very clear is that the 30-second notes there are the story. And that the 3/8 here, you could say like, yeah, but if 3/8 becomes like kind of 3/4, like a little bit faster perhaps, what's the difference? And that's of course one of the questions you had. It's like the obvious question. For instance, also if you have comment time, you go to Alla breve, you see many sources, like for instance Hotete, but later as well, when you go to a real Alla breve from comment time, you double the tempo, but you halve the note value. By the way, that last sentence is left out by Mieling in his book, by which he could like create his own universe for his reader. Anyways, when you double the tempo and you halve the note value, in other words, when you are in common